So here are a few things. Some of them are more than human, some of them are because of human, that I've collected over the years as I've been on walks or been down at the beach, walking down the street. And having reread these texts about extractivism and Polly Stanton's reading about the delicate touch as she walks across Jarrah country, I've really started to think about my relationship with these objects. As an artist, I do have a propensity to collect and to store things in case I might draw them one day or paint them one day. And, you know, just like, many sort of early childhood centers and primary schools, I've got this vast collection of gum nuts and leaves and bird's nest and things like that. But it's beginning to rattle me that I've got them because what I have done is I have taken them, I have extracted these things from the environment in which I first saw them, and I have put them in my art studio where they effectively become redundant. They have no purpose. So nothing can live in them, nothing can live with them, nothing can eat them. And so they sort of have a complete shift in why they're in existence. And as I'm sure you can imagine, that does not sit well in terms of thinking about Indigenous perspectives when, in Indigenous culture, you take what you need, not what you want from country. So just to go through very quickly some of the things that I've got on the screen at the moment. So this one here is actually a kelp anchor. So I got it down at the beach, and it's the part of a kelp seaweed plant that attaches itself to the rock in really turbulent seas. So this object here is the thing that really sort of holds those great big waving kelp plants, when the waves are thundering over them. So it's a really strong object. Over the years, it's dried out and it's become one of my firm favorites in terms of being an object to draw. This here is a really cool bit of metal that I found. It looks as though it's been shot at. So for a while, I was really interested in finding places out in Welsford Forest on Jarrah country where people go and shoot targets. And I developed a project about it, but I really like this for its sort of aesthetic. This is a baby artichoke from my garden that has dried out. This is a really spectacular gum nut that was given to me. Here I've got two bird's nests that I found on the floor of Welsford Forest. And this one here is still attached to the little stick that it was on. So the stick and the nest had fallen onto the ground, and the entrance is just in here. And it's a really beautiful, intricate, woven nest with cobwebs and leaves and feathers. Here's another bit of metal that I found on the floor of the forest. Again, it's sort of got an aesthetic that I really like. This I found at one of the lakes out at Welsford, and it's this sort of mesh, almost like graph paper, which is something that I really sort of aesthetically like as well. And it's got this funny attachment of a grey plastic disc. And this is a mangosteen, which I bought in a fruit shop and I let dry out. So there's some things here that have different stories and different provenances. Some of these more than human, and because of human, can stay in my studio because the act of me putting them into my studio wasn't an extraction from country. So one of those is going to be this piece of metal that had been put on country by human beings, presumably at some point. And whilst it was doing a pretty good job of sort of rusting and returning into the earth, it's not something that a more than human being was needing to live in or with. Perhaps something could live underneath it, but it's not a natural object as such. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to leave that in my art studio. The same goes for this piece here. Again, you know, there's no sort of animal or bird or creature that is going to be bereft because I have taken this from the place where I found it. Also this one here, this piece of metal, I'm going to keep that in my art studio. And then there are some natural objects that were bought in a shop or grown in my garden, and that, you know, I haven't removed them in a way that was detrimental to the natural, you know, the wildlife that lives in that particular area. One could argue you could still leave them there because I did extract them perhaps from somewhere, but I suppose there is a point of making that decision of what can stay and what can go. So I'm actually going to take the baby artichoke out as well. And I am going to take the mangosteen out. The mangosteen was actually bought at a shop in Sydney, so it's already done a bit of traveling. And what I'm left with are these objects here, these more than human things. So I've got a nest, and I've got another nest here. I've got my gum nut, and I've got my kelp anchor. Now, there are a couple of things that I'm now thinking about that present me with, I suppose, a bit of a challenge, is that the kelp anchor came from Tasmania. I'm currently nowhere near Tasmania. So I'm actually also going to take this out, and I'm going to keep it for the time being. And if I return to Tasmania, I will take this and the other anchors I have with me. This object here, this gum nut, I actually don't know exactly where it came from. And I think I've seen some of these in trees around the Bendigo area. So I'm actually going to hold this for the time being, and I will, when I sort of remember where the trees are, if I see one, I will return it. But these two more than human objects, I am definitely going to return. And I'm going to do one of those today. And the one that I'm going to return today is this one. And so that'll be the focus of my next video.